Yeah, I'm Randy Greenback, Executive Director on the game.
Yeah.
And the greatest mustache of the crew, Wes.
Wes Felder, health creator, mustache grower.
I'm assuming everyone here is familiar with the franchise Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But I'd like to let you guys actually know about the history of this day. It's kind of fascinating because it did not start out as Friday the 13th. Ronnie, you don't even explain what the origins of this game were?
Yeah, I've told the story probably 85 times. So I'll actually let Wes tell the story. I've said it.
Wes, let's sit around our campfire where we're not dead yet. You're telling us the story of Chuck's Tables.
Well, yes, we started out as summer camp. Slasher Volume 1 was summer camp. Kind of a mouthful, but we had these intentions of making potentially like episodic sort of horror stuff. And Ronnie and I sat down and wrote the design behind that game, which was very much sort of borrowing from Friday the 13th films, as well as some other iconic 80s movies, like The Burning was another one that we were really paying attention to. Anyway, so we wrote this design for that and started putting together some artwork and started some early work with Chuck and O'Connor on getting some code and stuff together. And we made an announcement. And the press seemed to dig what we were doing. The fans seemed to dig summer camp, so we were like, awesome, I think we're doing this the right way. And then my phone rings one day, and I asked the phone and said, hey, this is Sean S. Cunningham. And for those that don't know, that's the original director of the project. And so,
And also the owner of the Friday the 13th license, which you guys were borrowing from very, very heavily.
So, after I say bullshit, like on the phone, I'm like, no, it's just like a friend not trolling or something. He's like, no, seriously. So we start talking about what we're doing with our game, and he's really excited about sort of the vision that we had for it and how much care we were taking for sort of doing 80s horror the right way. And that's when he sort of popped the question, so to speak. He said, listen, you've already put this, you got my team. You know, so we already had Kane on board, we already had Harry Manfredini on board. We already had, of course, Tom Savini tied to the project. And he said, you know, hell, you kind of already got my team, you're only missing two things. And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, you're missing me and the license. I said, well, that's super awesome, but there's no way we have the money for licensing fees, because I knew that would just be astronomical, and we just didn't have that. We're a small team, you know, indie team, we don't have that kind of money. And he said, no, like, I'm going to give this to you, you know, gratis, like, absolutely no charge. So, you know, I passed out for like 30 seconds. So, I was really shocked about that kind of offer. And of course, we jumped on it immediately, but it's because of the team that's up here and the guys that aren't here right now that the reason why that happened is because we sat down and combed through so much horror content and made sure that whatever it was that we were going to put out, that there was no way at least someone would say they phoned that in. Like, because this is our passion, this is what we love. We want to make sure it was brought to fruition and that the fans could see it. And just lo and behold, you know, Sean Cunningham saw it too, and he gave us that incredible gift. So that's how summer camp became Friday the 13th.
Keep in mind too that we've been wanting to make a Friday the 13th game just like you for the last 20 years, but they never happen. You keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and it never happens. So that was our inspiration for Slasher Volume 1. Summer camp was, let's just make one ourselves. And we never dreamed that we would get a phone.
Well, it's funny because we've been talking about that for years, and we would like have little ideas, little gameplay mechanics, little things, and we were like, it'd be cool to do this. And then you sort of move on to the real world and do your real job. Well, Ronnie was just smart enough to like write that shit down, you know, like we started putting together like a rudimentary design doc over, you know, years of us having these conversations. So
when that phone rang, it was like, are you serious? This might actually be real. And he thought someone was trolling us, like, of course, you don't ever expect to get a phone call unless it's a bad one. I thought I was getting trolled when you
you guys first brought the idea us about making a game called Summer Camp. I was like, wait, I don't know if we can do like a summer camp simulator where we're a little bit of
For real. You really thought that. Like,
yeah, and then I kind of read back and saw that I missed the slasher volume 1 part. I'm like, oh.
you really had to tell these guys that it was Friday the 13th, and of course they were using the sign as us.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You want to show
The launcher?
I think the one thing that happens is that when you get a license like this, it does bring some problems because the game becomes more expensive and we needed to take it to Kickstarter. And with that, we had at least the fun. I remember that day when, getting to announce what the game was. Let's relive that. Well, go for it.
Here we go.
We're going to run a video right here.
After it happened, I expected someone to do something. I expected parents to show up with questions and concerns. I thought the police would have done more, but nothing happened. Nothing changed.
Shh, quiet. Someone will hear us.
They opened it again the next year, and they were back to their old habits.
Troy, did you hear something?
Relax, babe. Probably just Steve trying to scare us.
They're just kids, right? So was he. He was just an innocent boy. I was a good mother to him. My boy. My sweet, sweet Jason.
How many of you guys who follow the game closely sort of know what it's all about? That's not enough hands for us to skip over it. Randy, Rumble, want to kind of give you an outline? Because this is the other reason I got so interested in wanting to work on this game is it's doing something that really hasn't been done before, but is essential if you really want to make the Friday the 13th experience work.
Yeah, I'll let Randy jump in a second, but basically it's the easy way to categorize it is asymmetrical horror game, but it's actually not that way at all. It's on paper, 1 beats 7. 7 counters versus 1 player controlling Jason. But really, all 7 of them have to survive. Like only you have to survive. So you're going to be working together in teams when it works out for you or when it's beneficial to you. But as soon as Jason shows up, what do? You keep protecting him. It's illegal. So that's really it's a multiplayer horror experience where you don't have full friends and your other friend haunts you as Jason stalks you across the map. You can fix the vehicles inside the state and drive the map. You can fix the phone line and call the police. Find the weapon if you want to. Try to relive part 3 if you want. Whatever you think you want. Then more power to you, but it probably won't work out. So there are a lot of things you can do as a counselor. You can work together as a team as much as you want, or you can just go hide out by yourself and take your chances. So,
I mean, Randy, I think the part, there's aspects of this game that just run contrary to sort of normal design concepts, because the game is deliberately overpowering one player.
Yeah, and actually, that's very purposeful. Like, we want Jason to be a near unstoppable force, right? Normally, you would balance and tweak everything so everybody has a fair chance. We don't want this game to be fair at all.
Fair horror movie. So boring.
Rock, paper, scissors, who dies next? But yeah, so I liken it to, like, the most simple way to kind of describe the core moment-to-moment gameplay is hide and seek plus murder, right? So yeah, that's what you're doing a lot of the time. You're running around while you're trying to find parts, while you're trying to link up with your friends and stuff. But at the end of the day, you see Jason, it's time to hide. So that's at the core of it, and we're doing a whole bunch of cool new mechanics. Like we're empowering the Jason player to drive the match forward. He's creating the challenge. He's creating, the excitement, the tension, the fear. And he's ratcheting it up as he's running around killing stuff. And we've given him the power to also create jump scare moments.
the level's designed, all the way to the mechanics and how characters show up in NPCs, etc., whatever, it all funnels you towards conflict usually, somewhat in a linear fashion, and we just totally did not do that at all because Jason is the conflict. So the way that we laid out the level is much more open and allow the user, the player, to sort of see whatever it is, take whatever path that they choose to take. If they want to go inside and spend most of the time in interiors, they can. If they want to venture out to the woods, that's fine as well. And we don't create any kind of path or anything that's going to funnel you towards a choke point. We don't necessarily do that because that feels a little cheaper. It makes it like too easy to be Jason. Instead, it's much more sort of open world. I hate to use the word open world because people start thinking like something mega huge. While it's big, it's not like GTA big or anything, but it's still Camp Crystal Lake. And to the fans that know Crystal Lake, you're going to see things that you recognize. No question about it.
Yeah. Typically, both sides want conflict, like what I said in any game. In our game, only one side wants conflict, and that's Jason. The other seven are trying to avoid Jason and get out alive. So it's almost like Until Dawn, but imagine multiplayer, and your friend is the one who wants you.
And Chuck, maybe you can speak a little bit that each counselor player isn't equal either. I know we can't reveal all the types of counselors, but we're really playing on all those beautiful archetypes from 80s horror movies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they all, they kind of have their advantages and disadvantages for sure. So, and that's the thing. I mean, it's been definitely a challenge, but one of the first things that we did early on was we made sure that it's fun to play as a counselors. It's fun to kind of either work together, it's fun to mess with each other, screw someone over, or it's fun to kind of just play on your own. And that was kind of one of the early challenges, and I think we got that right early on. And we're always iterating on that, and that's where a lot of the archetypes are kind of coming in now, what works to kind of make it that much more interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of our characters are very similar in what they can do. Like everyone in our game can do all things. So they can all fix a car, they can all open a door, they can all run and sprint, they can all swing a weapon, but maybe not as well as the other person. So the jock is the strongest. He would have the strongest melee attack. But the girl next door, if you're familiar with the 80s and 90s tropes, she's the highest composure, she can handle herself. Her fear meter doesn't go as high. So she's essentially the final girl. We have lots of other tropes in our game as well.
I like to be a fast person and a slow person. Which is shows up.
As long as you can run faster.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bye.
Maybe trip over the process.
So I think with that,
new video time?
I want to see something from the game.
Yes, please.
It's a little short, but I think you're going to find this very effective.
And we'll explain a little bit about what you can see after you see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we have another video.
You guys actually worked really hard. I think it's kind of say where the game is right now. It's just getting that little bit. When you're doing a game, it's not open world, but it's an open map. We have to kind of dusty up a small section of it.
Yeah, we have two distinct gameplay elements. Like outside, when you're running around Crystal Lake on the map, it's a lot different than your experience inside. So what you saw in that video, Wesley pitching in it is, you're looking at the counselor hiding under the bed, and Jason has the ability to break down doors. So you didn't see a HUD, because we're still trying to figure out how much we want to immerse the player into the horror story. Do we want a big HUD? Do we want a lot of elements on the screen? Or do you want no HUD? So we're still messing actually with that element. We're still messing with how much you can zoom in and out of the bed. If you zoom too far out, you can see Jason, but he can see you more. And the whole zoom that you're seeing there is a mechanic we're trying to mess around with. Of maybe if you zoom in on something, it lowers your fear. But if you don't, you can see more. So it's a tricky.
why it was the first person you were under the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Because some people are like, oh, it's the first person. We're like, you're clearly hiding it, but just in case you didn't know, you're under the bed.
It still looks very surprising for me, like, I don't know if I'm hiding under the bed. It's like, man, I really hope I'm going to hide under the bed.
There's no way.
Yeah,
You see,
and-
what you may have done is, if Jason is, starting to beat on the door, then you open the window, and then you slide under the bed. So he comes in, and he thinks, oh shit, they went out the window. So then he goes back and gets their sweet.
I think this is one of those key parts about the game. I've been playing with them quite a bit on a prototype, not in anything that looks awesome as that does. But the game just has such a natural tension that clarity of thought, when you're usually watching movies and yelling at the screen, don't do that, why won't you do that? It's amazing how quickly I forget all that. I'm just shooting out.
And Jason does have abilities that helps him track you down. So what you're seeing here is Jason discovered that the girl was under the bed. We won't say exactly what his abilities are, but he can sense the environment and sense your fear, and that'll allow him to track you better.
Yeah.
And it's your composer stat, and it counteracts that.
So the counselor that was hiding under the bed, she was already being pursued by Jason and ran in and locked the door. So you notice she's making noise, she's moving around, she's kind of jittery. All that is outside of the player's control because really she failed, 30 seconds ago. When she ran into the bedroom and decided to lock the door, there's no other way out, and she's already freaked out as she can be, right? Yeah. So as soon as he breaks in, instantly, he kind of knows she's there, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what was going on, but she could have got there if she had juked and went to another area, or Jason took too long to figure out she went into that bedroom. Yeah. She could have got her composure back, calmed down, stopped breathing so heavy, her stamina would have raised back up, and then she could have actually successfully hit, but it was over because she was right.
Or she was out with her friend.
Right.
So I almost looked at it. Maybe not that queued up, but I don't know if you guys saw the way in which Jason moved. You must have, standing there, head and body. That's to me it just looks incredible, and that's because of the work of Ken Hogg, who played Jason in 7, 8, and 9, and X.
Yeah, I guess we covered that. You know that Kane Hodder is doing all the mocap, right?
Yeah. Okay. That is the first example of what the benefit is of Kane Hodder's work. And we actually have another video to show you of the mocap session, of a lot of the kills. Before we get to it, the kills were designed by the one and only Tom Savini.
Yeah, is anyone know who Tom Savini is?
All that makeup was done by Tom Savini. The kills in the first Friday the 13th. We would not have the horror movies we have today without his contribution and his incredible sense of accuracy with practical effects. And that's another governing rule about how the kills and some of the other things are going to work in the game.
Yeah, we reached out to Wested, and after he agreed to do it, this is what it's called summer camp. We were like, oh my god, Tom Savini agreed to do all the kills in our game. So yeah, he's heavily into practical effects. So you won't see a whole lot of heads exploding in Mortal Kombat style. It's more about proper ways to decapitate, proper ways to slice throats, proper as opposed to over-exaggerated kills.
So we can talk about case studies later, so we can talk about basically
How is it supposed to react?
How's an eyeball supposed to bleed?
So I'm like, let me text Tom. I'm like, Tom, when you disembowel someone,
Is it bottom up or up down? Asking for a friend.
Yeah. You don't want to look at our Google history. I can tell you that. It's not a fun day.
So we want to show you, it's a lot of fun, a compilation video of some of the kills and other things that Kane Hodder and his two very unfortunate but very admirable mocap actors did.
This is a video show. We did show this video a couple months ago at Pax East. So if you've already seen it, we apologize, but there's a reason we're going to show you this mocap video.
It's fun every time.
It is fun every time.
also the female actress you can see that Kane is
Murdery?
Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Was also the motion capture actress for the most recent Tomb Raider. So if you see her,
She's highly talented.
It's Jason versus Laura.
yeah.
Here we go.
You ready?
Action. Incredibly difficult because he had like a prosthetic hand. It couldn't really get a grip on that seat measure and totally take still.
And he hits it against 3 times.
Yeah.
And most of the association cut it back to 2 and then just 1. Yeah. You saw the film, so he was always really pissed about that. So I'm like, well, then we're going to do it 7 times.
Let's chat for a second. You know, we obviously saw that one clip. We can see something else momentarily. Let's sort of the process of the game development, sort of where the game is now. Because we've obviously we're looking forward to showing you guys more and more. But you just did mocap in January, and you're finally getting those art assets in on the final maps.
That's right. I mean, we shot all that data, and it's coming in, and we have to find some jig and some retargeting stuff we have to do to make sure the animation's clean, looks good. We're still missing some blends and stuff, so in between, glitching out between running and walking and things like that. Like we're still working on those pieces, so it looks a little janky whenever we're messing with it right now, but those pieces are slowly falling into place. And, you've got probably, Chuck, what would you say percentage of like props and vegetation stuff that are filling out the scene we're at right now?
There's a good amount. I mean, maybe 60-70% on some of like specific areas. Other areas are a little more bare, but as we get, we're kind of wrapping up a lot of the prop assets and things like that, and environment assets. So as that rolls in, then we kind of move into more set dressing and filling the levels out. We don't get too far into that. Like we're kind of taking, one level right now to kind of our full production, if we can, like as far as we can with it and all that.
That's what the next round of playtesting is going to
to make sure that everything's flowing right, the assets are right, nothing's really like blocking the way because you start essentially with kind of a gray box, and then from there you build everything up from there. And you know, as you bring art in, you can cause problems, but at the same time, you kind of identify that early on, and then we test all the other maps to make sure they're good. So there's been quite a lot of work done, and it's starting to really get there. So it's awesome.
It's kind of just like, not too far outside of that room that we just saw in that one video. It's kind of this weird gray box void.
Yeah.
You go out.
And you'll see in some of the new stuff where the more of the environment that so it's going to kind of show other parts of it as well.
So yeah, things that I've learned since I started working with these guys, making games is stupid hard.
I mean, just even on the mocap side, I mean, you get a lot of this awesome data back, but there's a lot that goes into that on our end too. It's, you know, looping things for cycles, so that there's, you know, you have your run cycle, your walk cycle, but even besides that, just, you know, an axe kill, for example, there's a lot that, you know, they're using props, and we have to kind of add a little bit of weight into it. We get a lot of it, but we kind of need to follow through, and that's kind of where we'll add a bit to it using the data we have. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you think about it, you can't swing a foam, you know, axe when we're hashing it. So the way that his body moves with the foam is not what you expect it to move whenever it's
Actual foam is a little different than actual body.
It's a tremendous amount of work for animators that have done just make those little subtle tweaks to bring real weight and real, you know, sort of that physics to it that you expect to see. You wouldn't want an axe to go flopping around.
So you're about to grab something there, Randy? You need a couple seconds?
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Ready to go?
What is it? Okay, yeah, so we have another mocap kill that some of you have seen before, but there's a reason we're going to show you this specific kill. And then we're going to get into our second video, which no one has seen before. But first we're going to show you another piece of mocap.
Oh.
So that's a door kill, obviously.
But Randy, see something else.
Yeah, we have another video that I want to see in the shed. So.
And you meant to see some, essentially some of the environments.
Yes.
Yeah. The environment of Crystal Lake.
Outside,
yeah. Cozy, warm.
Any hardcore really hardcore. That was.
Anyone know where that was?
Anybody know how back that was? There you go. So, what we want to talk about actually is that's our second confirmed map, which is Higgins Haven. That was made famous in Friday the 13th Part 3. That house is the Higgins house in the barn. That's where that whole chase scene is incredible. She fights him in the house, he chases her through the barn. That's where she gets him his axe mark in the head. She hits him with the axe, she hangs him with the noose. That's a very, very famous scene. So you'll notice that on our Kickstarter stretch goal list, we had a new map way, way up there, but Chuck and his team sold all their houses, they sold their cars, we were walking to work out.
I did for 2 different bar mitzvahs.
Yes. We still have them out and he did a bunch of public appearances, but we are doing that map, and that's our second playable map, so we're knocking that off the stretch goal chart because we had to have it. Anyone that knows me knows that Part 3 is my favorite film for multiple reasons, and that was like my love child, was getting that bar and that house right. Because those floor plans that don't exist in the real world.
There's some really cool stuff going on in that map right now that we're working on. That's really cool. So one day.
Higgins may not mean much to some of you, but if you're a hardcore fan, you understand what that means. So, and obviously that was the door kill.
So it's the door kill, which is from real world fake to real game. I think the other thing is I've been playing with these guys on these prototype maps that are just really terrible for sense of balance and things like that, not for the actual game. So all the cabins in that are identical. So I think it's fascinating to see this, to see all the detail that's in the cabins, all the new opportunities of where you can hide, where you can try and find the car park or something like that. I mean, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about where the thinking is in terms of that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, just beyond kind of, there's a lot of detail going into the maps, number one. And then, yeah, there's definitely parts you could acquire that kind of help you get away from Jason. For say, like I said, the car park, boat park, just different areas like that. So we kind of wanted, some detailed maps, and then those kind of end up in various parts that you find.
There's a big difference between being in a single floor cabin, right, with maybe 3 or 4 windows you can escape, and a 2-story house. They can hold probably 20 people at a time if we had that. So a lot more chaos can happen in those houses, a lot more hiding spots, and a lot more potential to get
finding spots like maybe the park spawns up in that upper area. So you have to go up there and kind of.
But thank his team at O'Fonnell, because I sent them floor plans, we sent them floor plans from Higgins' house after watching the movies 100 times at least. Because they're very, very good at camera angles, not showing you the whole house. So it took us a long time, and his art team, Shane and those guys at O'Fonnell, killed that scene. If you go back and look at the films.
Well, that's the thing. Is when we were there a few months ago, I walked over to Shane's computer, and he was like, "Oh, I was going to ask you about he was showing in the game, and then on his other screen, he had dual monitor set up, and he was watching frame by frame from Part 3, and he had Higgins saving his room up, and he was like, so this land, it's not exactly the way I want it. And I'm like looking at the land in the movie, and I'm looking at the land in the thing, I'm like, dude, that's awesome. It's that kind of love and precision that's going with this, that to sort of, everyday gamer, if they say that play it, they're just going to be like, oh, it's fun, it's cool. And to the people that, sort of, if Friday the 13th is almost a religion to them, they're just going to feel, when they walk through Higgins' neighborhood, they're like, that's exactly where that's supposed to be, and that's exactly where that's supposed to be, like that, and that matters to us.
And we've created a huge database of screenshots, or captures from the actual film. Thousands of notes and everything, because, still, it's a film, so there's still a bit of smoke and mirrors, like video games are smoke and mirrors, there's smoke and mirrors in films too. So there are kind of fill-in-the-blank moments and just, we see this part of the barn or this part of the house, like, what would be behind it? Maybe we don't see this here or there. And sometimes someone will kind of pull out of the archive, they'll be like, oh, look at this, oh, cool, they got it for like 1 or 2 frames, but
behind the scenes photos.
Yeah, exactly, behind the scenes. So there's still a lot of, kind of just, not so much guessing, I would say, it's more of like, we kind of all talk about it and say, what makes sense, what works, and then kind of communicate it with Gunn. These guys know this stuff in and out as well.
But even still, there's a section of the house that you never see in the film.
Yeah.
And there's no record of anyone having a picture of that section of the house ever. Right. So we're the ones who get to feel it. What's that back bedroom look like? Or what happens when you go upstairs and go left? They don't ever do that. So you only see like one door frame at one point during the movie, it's that big, and you have no idea what's on the other side. So that's the cool part for us. We didn't make it.
Before we get to questions, do you want to chat a little bit about the slasher backer?
Sure. So our slasher backer campaign is kind of it's going to be coming to a close at some point soon. But we just wanted to talk a little bit about it. Like, it's helping us hit those next stretch goals. Like the next one up, we call Fresh Meat. So it's 3 new counselors, like 3 new counselor tropes that we want to be able to do, but we need the money for it. So we have, you can pre-order the game, you can buy an art book, you can pick up the soundtrack. There's a whole bunch of stuff and a whole myriad of ways you can help us out, but you get something, right? We don't want to get something for nothing. So we want to get back, we want to make the best game possible. So on our website, there's a link to the Slasher Backer campaign at f13game.com. So if you are excited about anything we've been showing and you want to get in on the game, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and please note, if you don't have extra money, like, believe me, you spreading the word on Facebook, or just telling your friends about it means the world does. it's carried us this far, really word of mouth, and everyone, all the hardcore fans, and even new fans, like your wife wants to play this game.
Yes, my wife does not play video games. Don't ask me how I found out how I did that. But her and I actually did get married over our mutual love of horror movies, and she's like, yeah, video game. She heard about it and saw a little bit of Friday the 13th. She said, okay, I want you to teach me how to use a controller. So I think we might be onto something. The lovely Ben. Hey guys, I'm going to come and ask you guys, or let you guys ask questions.
So I'm going to be coming out to you guys before I get started. I just want to let you know I've been following the Twitch stream. This is for all you guys on Twitch watching live on broadcast. We've got about 1,500 to 1,700 people that have been watching, and my phone has been blowing up. We get emails for every order from aggregate, and my phone is like actually on fire right now. So you guys are amazing, all of you. So let's get into some questions. I saw this guy's playing Jason. I need some cardio.
Jason, yeah.
Sorry, dude.
What's up? Oh, I will. You know, Jason. On the backer site, do you guys have any more information about the Machete Edition as to what's in it specifically?
Randall?
Yeah. What specifically did you want to know? So basically, we're still we still have those available right now on BackerKit because when we entered the Kickstarter, we still had some that went unclaimed, right? So we're going to have to order those all from the factory because we have to order them in those big mass quantities that we did. So there are some left, but they're limited quantity. So you're going to have to get in, and you can still pick those up. But yeah, those are going to be designed soon. And as soon as we have a design and we can show you a production run copy, an early one, we will start sharing that with you. So,
but it's just the game, right? It's just the game in there.
It's the game in there. It's a steel case, and it has a nice slip cover over it as well. So.
Hey, does anyone have a marker? Like a felt tip marker in there? I knew that was somebody.
Sharpie unit?
Sharpie? Yeah.
There he is.
That's actually really...
What's his question? That wasn't the question.
What a question. He was asking.
Oh, okay.
We're just trying to be helpful here.
My question is, since the house is part 3, does the game take place in any continuity? We have knowledge of Tommy Jarvis and Tina.
Well, Tommy was a stretch goal, a very, very high one. But as far as other counselors, we don't have any in the game yet. We didn't want to just have one, right?
Well,
maybe.
You never know who's going to show up at campus.
Yeah, well, they can never know.
But I think also his question was is that this doesn't take place during a certain time period in the decade of Friday the 13th.
We can pull from all the films.
No.
What year did the TV series run?
And it's an analogy.
All right, next question.
Hi, I was curious, how long would each match last, and how do you plan to make it not drag on?
How long is each match?
Yeah, what's in there that maybe prevents the match from dragging on forever?
Yeah, Jason does get stronger as the game goes on.
Right now, our playtest, we're 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, we've actually, if you're really, really good at Jason, we've had people die in 5 to 10, everyone.
Everyone's had 5 minutes.
So, and plus match size will determine some of that. So now that we've announced Piggett's map, it may not be as big as the Crystal Lake map, so we can play the size, and that'll just make the matches go faster.
And there's definitely things we're doing that may change that a little bit, but I think it feels pretty good as far as the experience.
The other thing to think about is what's awesome about the films is that there are always a different actor who plays Jason. Everyone kind of has their guy. They go Ted White, they go Kane White, whatever it is, right? What this game allows you to do is, yes, that's Jason standing there. That could be Jason Part 3, but you get to play him the way that you want to play him. So if you want to be very aggressive and brutal and just run straight into where the councils are and just start hacking and slashing, you do that. If you want to hang back in the shadows, just move around, you want to stand in the window of the cabin and just stare.
Caboose is trying to ask a question. So is Jay.
What we see internally is there's certain people who are just better at role-playing Jason than others are. That it genuinely can scare you. You be that creepy. Like, I'm just gonna stand on the other side of the door and wait for this guy.
Guys, we got more questions.
Yeah, sure.
All right, next one.
Hey, this is a two-part question.
I don't know where he is.
When exactly did Sean Cunningham approach you guys to make this from summer camp to Friday the 13th?
Did you say when?
Yes, when exactly?
You want the exact date?
Well, like a round date.
It was a couple months after summer camp was announced.
It was, yeah, it was early.
You can pull up your phone record, but
It's not this January, but
Right, the last, January, February, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
First.
it's couple. Yeah, we announced summer camp on October 31st.
Yeah.
And it was about January when we called.
Yeah.
so 2015.
There you go.
Okay, that's good actually. I'm satisfied.
It wasn't too long. It didn't take them long to catch wind. It was actually Harry Manfredi, I think, that alerted him to it. They saw each other at the convention.
Yep.
He was like, what are you working on, Harry? He's like, oh, summer camp, just check it out.
They're completely ripping you off.
Exactly. Look at these guys.
All right, next question.
All right, from a gameplay perspective of point of view of the counter, is there any sort of objective flow, or is it like, all right, we spawned in, everybody goes start checking, spawns for car parts or whatever? Is there any sort of flow for the councils to kind of work together with you?
Well, right away, right now we're not forcing you to do anything. So if you just want to run to a cabin and jump in and hide for the whole game, you can. But we do have a clear set of goals lined up that if you do these things, you will help your other teammates survive as well too. But one thing we didn't want to do is just force you to do things.
Yeah.
And now that's the first thing you do is, better find a car part, and then you just get bored because you can't just break off and do what you want.
And that's also been another interesting challenge too, because there's certain things that, if you're the kind of person that likes 100% a game, you probably don't like to try to do everything, right? If you're not, then, you may go for the clear end goal.
Because each time you spawn, you might be in a different location. So you may not spawn near a vehicle, you may spawn somewhere to the lake. So if we ask you to say,
But there also is kind of a cost benefit that happens there. That if you decide as a group to like, hey, let's go look for the car parts, you're doing that many times at the expense of trying to organize a possible way to slow down or stop chasing.
yeah, by the way,
And we've talked about other things like you can call the police, right? So that's a different objective. So somebody might be running off trying to do car parts. You're like, screw that. Jason stocks the car, or this Jason stocks the car. I've played with him before. So I'm going to run and fix the call box, call the police, and then hide out until they show up and try to make it to them before Jason picks them off. So,
Well, and also, you can't let just 4 people holding hands go find all the necessary car parts. You're going to have to split up. There's a good chance someone who's getting a car part will get killed by Jason, and that car part stays where their dead body is. So you have all these other ways. I don't think it completely answers your question with the sense of flow, but if there were too many clear-cut objectives,
everyone would be doing those together.
All right, next question.
All right, so anyone who's a fan of Jason or the Friday the 13th franchise knows of one of the craziest crossovers of all time, Freddy versus Jason.
Not gonna happen.
So.
That's good. Wes? That's another license.
When we got this license, there was only so many of the films that were included with it, and that was not one of them.
Yeah, that's actually.
But it's a whole other license in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's not like we have to follow it.
By a lot, so you guys don't think I'm over-exaggerating here. Look at all this, okay? And there's a bunch of stuff in the bag. So, let's put these down and go one at a time. Oh goodness.